guys, it's Ray here with the boys, William and Eli, and today I am going to be doing a video that I've been wanting to make for a very long time, and that is how to realistically photograph your reborn. So as you can see, I've got a ton of stuff around me, and I'm just going to walk you guys through step by step of how to take photos of your reborn, not only on an actual camera but also on your phone, because there's a lot of people that don't necessarily have a high quality camera, or they just don't have a camera in general, but they do have a smartphone, and smartphones have pretty darn good cameras nowadays that you can take beautiful pictures on. So you don't necessarily need something high quality like this. You can still take good pictures on something like this. So I'm going to go over all of the stuff that you might want to consider, using and utilizing to take your pictures. So I'm going to start by going over the things that you might want or need if you're going to take photos of your reborn that are kind of like professional photo shoot style, like having a solid backdrop, not like, pictures in a car seat or anything like that. So let's get started with some stuff you're going to want/need. So obviously you're going to want a doll because that's what you're taking pictures of. And I have both William and Eli here so I can kind of show you guys some stuff with both sleeping and awake babies. Also, you're obviously going to need a camera of some form. Today I'm going to be taking pictures on my Canon EOS 60D with my 50mm lens. Now obviously you do not need you don't need a DSLR. You could have something simple like a little point and shoot, and I'm also going to be using my iPhone. You're going to want something to display a backdrop on. I got this backdrop stand from eBay. I'm not sure how much it cost, but I can put a link down in the description to the exact same listing where I got this. It was really cheap, and it's pretty good quality for the price. So you could also use just chairs to put the blanket on, or you can look up tutorials for how to make your own backdrop stand. You're going to want a blanket of some form to use for your backdrop. So I have this fuzzy blue one here, and I also have this blanket. So just a pretty, large sized blanket that can cover a decent amount of area. Next, you're going to, if you have a little girl, maybe some cute headbands, blankets if you want to swaddle your reborns up like I have the boys here, or you can put them in a cute outfit. You're going to want a couple of pillows, so just regular old pillows. You could also use a boppy. Now I know not everybody has one, but these things are so great for displaying your reborns and also doing pictures with, and you'll see why in a second. A stuffed animal or a little toy that you could maybe put next to them just for a little prop. And lastly, you could also use a basket if that's the look that you're going for. So I know this looks like a ton of stuff, but in reality it really isn't. And I just did a newborn photo shoot of a real baby a couple weeks ago, and I'm going to be putting like a picture of the real baby, and I'm gonna try and recreate it with the reborns. So we're gonna see how that goes, and now that you have all of your stuff, let's begin. So before you start taking pictures, you might want to go on Pinterest or Google or Instagram or wherever and look at some pictures of real baby photography. Not reborns, real babies. Now obviously you can't recreate everything you see that is done with a real baby on a reborn. If you look at real baby pictures, you can kind of see how the baby is posed. There's some pictures where they're laying on their tummy and they have their head on their hands like this, or they're laying on their back or on their side. You can just kind of get a feel for how do photographers pose real children to try and recreate it with the reborns. Next, you're going to want to find the best area in your house that has the best natural lighting. And of course, obviously, if you're using a camera, get a nice clear SD card, charge up your batteries, and charge your phone if need be, because you never know how long you're going to be taking pictures for. And just get all your stuff together, and now let's start shooting. Okay, so as you can see, I've got my little backdrop all laid out here, and once you have that all pinned up however you need it, you're going to take your pillows, or if you're just on carpet like I am, you really technically, you don't necessarily need these, but if you want them, I'm going to take my pillow and I'm gonna lay them next to each other. So something kind of like this, and then I'm gonna take my blanket and carefully lay it over my blanket, just kind of like that, kind of, you know, play around with your blanket, however, here we go. So this is where the baby is going to lay, and if you have a boppy, you can actually take it and just kind of, you know, get your pillows and stuff all situated. Now, the reason for having the boppy, you will see in just a second. So I have Eli here, and I'm gonna start with him on his back. So I'm gonna kind of put him in the boppy, so something kind of like this. So the reason for having the boppy, as you can see, Eli is propped up in here really nice, and that keeps his head supported. Now, I've noticed, you know, a lot of times when some people take pictures of their reborns, their heads are kind of flopping backwards, and that gives kind of a weird like double chin effect, and that just doesn't look good. This way, you know, their head is propped up so their head isn't flopping back. You don't have to worry about their cloth showing if you're, you know, you have a blanket. So now he looks all ever so adorable. Oh, and if you don't have like an actual boppy pillow, you can use rolled up towels or smaller pillows. So now that Eli is all positioned, I'm gonna turn my camera on and I'm going to take a picture. Now I'm gonna have this picture pop up on the screen so you guys can see it. So as you can see, the natural lighting, this is an unedited picture. It looks the same as it does in real life. That's why I use natural light. I'm gonna take the same picture on my phone. So I'm gonna get into my camera, as you can see, and I'm going to try and take the same picture. And I'm gonna put that picture also on the screen so you guys can see. So next to each other, really the only difference is that on my camera, the background is a little bit more blurred. But as you can see, my phone takes great pictures too, and so does yours. That's why you don't have to have this. You can also have this. So you're just gonna kind of wanna play around, you know, try some different poses. If they're swaddled up like this, obviously you can really only do stuff on their back. And I'm gonna take another picture, and be sure to try different angles, you know, kneeling and shooting down above him. Obviously, you know, he's bald, so he's not exactly... Here, I'm gonna grab William. So we're back, and I've got William here. So I took him out of his swaddle, but I still have the blanket on him. Now because William is an awake baby, obviously he looks a little bit older and he looks more awake, more alert. So I've got him posed with his arms kind of like this, with his head laying on them, as you guys can see. So he looks adorable. And I just draped the blanket over top of him, just so I can keep his cloth covered because he has 3/4 arms. I'm gonna get down more like below him because he's kind of looking down. There, that's better. That's really cute. So with the awake babies, you can kind of get a little bit more creative. Try different angles. Now he's got rooted hair, so I could do a shot, you know, kind of looking down at the top of his head to capture his details. You know, get all of those little details. Get their little feet, you know, maybe cross their legs and do something like that. Get their hands, get their little nose, their lips, their eyes, if their eyes are open. Or if their eyes are closed like Eli's, get their eyelashes. Try and capture all those little details because those are what are probably like the most realistic features of your baby. So for these more traditional kinds of photos, the biggest, most important points, I guess, make sure their cloth isn't showing because obviously that's not going to make them look as realistic. Always try different angles. Like I said, capture their little details. Some different angles that you can try are full body, which is obviously a shot of their entire body. Waist up, which is from like their midsection to the top of their head. Chest up, which is from the chest to the top of their head. And a head shot, which is kind of like where their shoulders start to about the top of their head. Or you can go in for an extreme close-up where you could get just their face with their eyes, their nose, and their mouth. Get creative with it because that's the fun thing about photography, especially with reborns and kids and all that jazz, is you can get very, very creative with it. Another tip for taking pictures with a backdrop and stuff is if you find that your reborn is kind of not posing the way that you want them to, try taking like receiving blankets or pieces of fabric or towels and putting them under their limbs so that they can be posed more easily. And if they're not maybe like laying on their side or just they don't look how you want them to, you know, don't be afraid to stick some other stuff under there to kind of tweak their positioning. Don't force a position if they can't do it. I mean, vinyl is flexible, but it's not like silicone. So if your reborn's arm only bends this much, you can't make it bend this much. Don't force anything, because I would hate for anything to happen to your baby, you know, for their vinyl to rip or to get stretched out or whatever happens to vinyl. So just be careful, of course, but don't be afraid to try certain things. Never be afraid to try things as long as you're being cautious. Okay, so this has been my how to realistically photograph your reborn baby photography tutorial. I hope that this was helpful somewhat. I kind of feel like I just rambled on and gave you guys some pretty useless information, but I hope you enjoyed it anyways. If you want me to make another tutorial for photographing your reborns, you know, kind of more of in a casual type way, or even doing one for how to photograph your reborn toddler, be sure to leave that down in the comments down below, and I would absolutely love to do that for you guys. Yeah, I'll see you guys soon. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.